podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Dragon's Lair in association with the Riverside Sports Bar, the home of live sport and banging burgers in Newport. With me as always is Gavin Thomas. Hello Gavin, how are we?
I'm very well. I managed to get cup winners medal yesterday after a minute and a half of rugby.
Yes, I saw that. Well done. Congratulations. Good stuff. You've played your last game of rugby now, haven't you? So you claim.
I've played my last game of rugby for my club because we're merging next season with a different club. My plan is I've got an exit strategy. We've got an anniversary game. I'm going to play Super Vets. I'm going to captain Sussex Super Vets next season, and I'm going to play one game for the Dragons All Stars, and then I'm done. That is my exit strategy.
You say you're done, but you'll play after that. You know you will. You can't help it, Gav. 52 years old and still going strong. Fair play to you, mind. You're an inspiration to older players, Gav.
Yeah, well, till you see me play, mate, and then
yeah, that's true. I haven't seen you play in fairness, so yeah, I'll have to come and watch you sometime. Right, so Gareth isn't with us this week because he's in Montpellier, of course, but we have a very capable replacement. He's co-host on the WRRAP podcast and he's Abertillery's defence coach. Dan Crandon, welcome to the Dragon's Lair. How are you, sir?
Evening, gents. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I believe congratulations are in order. I see Abertillery have confirmed you as the new head coach starting from next season. So congratulations, Dan. How did that move come about?
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks. I think the club's just decided to have a bit of a restructure in the way that they set his coaching team up, and they wanted to stick a head coach in place, just to sort of align everything, really, I suppose, and ultimately make someone culpable for everything that goes wrong on the field, I suppose. And
yeah.
So yeah, maybe foolishly, I stuck my hat in the ring, and I was fortunate enough to pick it up, which is nice for me, to be honest, because my family really has got a long history with Abertillery Rugby Club. My great uncle played for the club when they played the All Blacks on Abertillery Park, and my father played. My uncle played. My brother's still playing. I played for the club as well, so. Yes, it'd be nice to be the head coach and have the reins for next season. So wherever we may be, whether it's the Championship or Division 1, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Oh, excellent, lovely stuff. And how have you found Abertillery season? It's been a tough one, hasn't it, Dan? You guys and NSD are in the bottom two. It's been tough this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been tough, and I thought we were expecting it to be tough going up into the Championship, but the step up has been eye-opening, really. Playing the teams like Bedwas and Wanderers, which are stacked with boys that have got experience playing at a much higher level than this. I think Bedwas have had their start in 15 for the last 2 weekends. Harry Ford.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He played for them down at St. Joe's last weekend, and their game against St. Peter's this weekend were called off. So. So yeah, that's the sort of quality that you're potentially playing against, and for a group of lads from Abertillery primarily, I would say probably still 80% of the playing squad, if not a bit more, still all from Abertillery and have come through the mini and juniors. It's been a tough ask at times. Have we got everything right on the coaching front, on and off the field? Probably not. But nevertheless, we've taken it to what will be our final game of the season with the hope of maintaining Championship status, and if that doesn't work out, then we'll just have another pop again promoted the following season. So still all to play for. We travel to Rumney next weekend, needing a bonus point win, and hope that they don't pick anything up to have any chance of staying up.
And what is it about just the quality of the squads that you're facing that's the big step up? Yeah, Abertillery, well-established club.
Yeah.
But is it just really coming up against teams with bigger pockets and?
Yeah, I would say that budget has a lot to do with it. Abertillery don't pay any players at all, so there's no cash being paid to players. There are clubs such as Bedwas, for example, that are open about the fact that they pay players. And that's probably, I think they've lost one fixture this year, have they? Yeah. One fixture, scored over 1,000 points this year. You know, they are by far and away probably the best team in the league, closely followed by the likes of Wanderers and Treorchy. Again, 3 probably old heritage clubs as well, especially Wanderers and Treorchy. And then I think Bridgend Athletic this year, they've been very good when we played them, but have managed to get their hands on a group of boys that are probably originally from the athletic system that have gone to play SRC, like the one lad that plays fullback for them, Johnny Phillips, was Abertillery captain, I think, for a few seasons and has played at Bridgend. He scored, I don't know whether you'll be able to find it on, I think it's floating around on YouTube, but he scored one of the best tries I've ever seen at Abertillery Park from underneath his own posts against us, where he beat about 4 or 5 of the lads and went coast to coast. So that's the standard that you're playing against now. And
Bridgend Athletic, are they reserves, aren't they? It's like Bridgend reserves, reserves, but second 15, is it all?
No, they're a club in their own right.
Oh, they're a separate club, okay.
Yeah, club in their own. I think they got a few clubs down in Bridgend, haven't they? They got Athletic and the Sports, and obviously Bridgend RFC. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of talent in the league, and I think you're probably at the point where there's some boys that are effectively playing, at the semi-professional level. And there are clubs towards the bottom of the league, I would say, that have found that difficult to cope with this year.
And what's the regs about? Are clubs allowed at that level to pay our rag? Because I work in the English system, and basically there's a point where you're not allowed to give anyone a penny, and it's only and you can only pay players through contracts. You can't give them like kind of
my understanding is
expenses.
That anyone can pay players in the community game. However, you have to sign the financial disclosure with the union to say that you're paying your playing staff, and as a result of that, you don't get your WRU grant of about $4,000 a year, I think.
Okay.
So the union pays every community club in Wales, and I stand to be correct on this, and I'm sure someone will in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think every community club gets $4,000 a season. But you
it's not a lot of money, is it? $4,000.
No, it's not. No, it's not a lot of money. But you opt out of that if you choose to pay your players.
Okay.
And then obviously you look through some of the the league above in the Welsh Prem, for example. You got the likes of Cardiff Met, for example. That why they may not be paying their players effectively a full-time program, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the trade-off. But yeah, it's been an eye-opener this season, and as the old saying goes, we haven't lost, we've learned, and we've certainly learned a lot. So. Yeah, hopefully we can keep most of the playing group together and have another go at it next season if it doesn't work out for us. But fingers crossed, you never know. The fat lady hasn't sung just yet. We've managed to drag it out to what will be our 24th league game. And I think that's been another factor for us as well, to be honest.
That's a lot of rugby, isn't it? That is a lot of rugby.
Last season, our Division 1 campaign, because we won Division 1 to get promoted last year, consisted of 18 fixtures. And however many league games, however many cup games you play, I think we got knocked out in the quarters. But anyway, so you're probably looking at us probably playing 22, 23 games all season. Whereas this year, by the time we finish on the weekend, I think including pre-season and cup, we'd be around 30 fixtures. And I'll be honest, they're a group of players that being held together with 4-inch tape and desire at the minute, because it's been.
It takes its toll, doesn't it?
Takes its toll, yeah.
Older bodies and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly that. But it's been whilst it's been tough, it's been enjoyable as well. So we've had a little taste of it, and if it don't go away, we'll no doubt we'll try to get back up there.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, okay. Let's start as we always do then with Newsdesk. A couple of bits of news coming up from the club in the week. So Dragons utility back, Di Richards, he signed a new contract. The 26-year-old has re-signed for a second spell with the men of Gwent last July following impressive performances with Newport, helping the Black and Ambers to the Super Rugby Cymru title. Richards can operate a wing, centre or fullback. He's made 16 appearances now to date this season, scoring 4 tries. Di said, "I feel honoured to be part of the squad this year, something 12 months ago I'd probably given up on. Representing Gwent is huge. everywhere you go in the community, you see how much rugby means to people. It's for them that you want to try and take the Dragons forward. They epitomise what Gwent Rugby is about with the passion they bring to Rodney Parade. So we've spoken about Di Richards a lot on this podcast. It's a great comeback story. Last year, he was working for the Dragons commercial team, selling tickets and hospitality, as well as playing for Newport. And he's found his way into the Dragons team. He's got a lot of work-ons. We saw that today. He's very good at combining the good and the not so good. But he's a very important squad player now. And yeah, I'm happy for Di to sign for another year or two. What do you make of this news then, Gav?
I think at the start of the season, I was kind of unsure about Di, but I think he's a good, solid season, hasn't he? And like you say, there are kind of bits he needs to work on. Not great. Yeah, he's getting better under high ball, but there's some work to be done there. Defensively, I think he can often find himself not quite in the right channel, and he just gets himself pulled across quite a lot. But he's a good finisher.
Yeah.
His feet are quick, and he really does identify a gap. And he was unlucky today when if that pass had landed, if Thomas Young had caught that pass,
yeah,
a minute into the game today, it would have been very different. But he was going down, and he's just flung it. But yeah, like you say, it's squad depth, isn't it? And we need squad depth. We do need more players. But signing players who are decent, there's also re-signing players who are decent. It's never going to be a bad idea.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? Do you think that's decent business for the Dragons? Because Di will be cheap, and he is a handy squad player, can cover multiple positions, so it's not a bad bit of business, is it?
No, I think it's a good bit of business by the Dragons. Ultimately, he's come in this year. As you said, he's probably been really cost effective. I don't know his salary, but I can imagine that he's cost effective. The one thing I will say is, they put him down as a utility back. For me, as a winger.
Yeah,
the couple of times he's played at 13, I think, love him. He's got found out defensively. It's a totally different position to play. And not even as if he's missing tackles. It's just a positional thing, the ability to lead that line high and so on and so forth. But I think it's great business for the two of them, for the Dragons and for him. I hope he's signed for longer than a season as well, because as you said, it's good squad depth and we need that. And you can rely on him. But I also think he's got quite a high ceiling. We mentioned the work-ons, a high ball, defensive position, so on and so forth. I think if we keep him in the environment, he's only going to get better. So it'd be interesting to see where he is at this time in 2 seasons. So, yeah, congratulations to Di, I suppose, because it's testament to the hard work he's put in over the last 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a try, isn't he? We saw that with the Dragons' first try, do we? For now, to hold him up over the line. That was really good work by Di, not to give up the ball like that. So yeah, he does good things. Yeah, you got work on, but I think it's a decent bit of business for us.
I do agree with Dan, though. He's not a centre.
Well, for Newport, he was very good at 13. I watched him for Newport at 13, but that's a different level, isn't it?
Different level, yeah.
When Dyer's played 13, I just remember that Benetton game in Europe.
He was up against top class players, but they were running through him like he were in there at times. And it's like Dan said, defense at 13 is probably the hardest place defensively on the field. Because do push in, do hand, it's all decision making all the time.
Yeah, but decent business, and so Di is staying with us for guessing it'd be another couple of years, I would have thought. But decent business. Right, we spoke about him last week, but it's been confirmed by the Dragons now that Kyle Parry has been signed from RGC. So Parry scored 14 tries in the SRC, and he leads the competition for line breaks. Parry will join the senior academy at the Dragons and Pontypool on a dual contract, which is interesting. Dan, have you seen much of Kyle Parry? What do you make of him? Because we've seen bits and pieces of him, and he looks quite Rio Dyer-esque. He's very fast and got great feet. Have you seen much of him?
I'm sure we've all seen the try that he scored at Eugene Cross Park for RGC, where he's picked the ball up and beat no end of players. Look, the one thing there's no substitute for at any level of sport is pace, and he's clearly got it in abundance. It's interesting, the dual contract, the senior academy contract, and the relationship with Pontypool, because I would suggest that probably plays into their hands in terms of a salary cap, playing into the salary thing. Because my understanding is that within the SRC, if you're dueling boys from the academy, then they don't count your budget. So you've got a playing budget. But and again, I stand to be correct on that, but I think that's the way it works. Is that if you're using academy boys, it don't count your budget. So that's probably why that's been announced as such. But he's and I would have thought as well the fact that he's gone to Pontypool is that he can work closely with Tom Hancock, who's obviously one of the skills coaches down at the Dragons as well.
That's right, yeah.
So there's that. He should have that seamless if everything works as it should do, he should have that seamless transition from what we think the SRC should be in the academy into what is the first team. So I think there's another guy with a really high ceiling here. We've just got to treat him properly, make sure that he's coached properly. Don't throw him in the deep end too quickly. And if he does get thrown in the deep end, like Hugh Anderson did last year, just expect that he's not a finished product. Because I think we've had a little bit of second season syndrome from Hugh Anderson, and it wouldn't be surprised me with these young lads that the same thing would happen with Kyle Parry. But I'm excited for this one because I think he's the ability to beat a man and pace. You can't coach it. Those things are God given. So you never know. He could end up being the next Rio Dyer.
Yeah. I think it's a shrewd bit of business. Yeah. See, I wish he played for Newport. I wish he signed for Newport because could you imagine Lloyd Lewis on one wing and Kyle Parry on the other? That would be absolutely rapid, wouldn't it? I'd have loved that.
Just bias, though, Jamie.
It is bias, but that would have been a very good partnership, I think. But we're not going to see it now because he's going to Pontypool. But
I would have thought, though, looking at the depth chart of someone like a Newport, it probably made more sense for him to go to Pontypool, did it, with the fact that they've got some aging lads on the wing, or some lads that are certainly not going to make the step up to professional rugby.
Yeah, I suppose.
So therefore, you go where he's going to maybe get more game time week on week at Pontypool, and that would be the trade-off.
It's part of his development, isn't it? So you need him to be in the right place to develop.
Exactly that.
Yeah. No, you're probably right, Dan. I just thought, Lloyd Lewis on one wing, Kyle Parry on the other. That would have been really exciting to see.
Yeah,
but no, there we are then. So that's all done. In other news, Dragons' new signing, Abertillery, made a Super Rugby debut on the weekend for the Blues against Moana Pacifica. He came off the bench in the 64th minute and he scored a try. So this was the first Super Rugby game I'd watched in a little while, and I only watched it because I wanted to see how Abertillery go on. Now, Gav, I know you watched this game as well, didn't you?
I did.
He looks pretty decent, doesn't he? Nothing at all like Aaron Wainwright. This is, Philo was right. This is not a like-for-like Aaron Wainwright replacement, but I like the look of him. I don't know what you thought.
I thought he looked athletic. To be fair, that was a good side, wasn't it? Like, it was just a lot of big lads in that back row. Yeah, he's not Wayno, is he? He's not a broken field runner. No. He's a bit more route one maybe, but I thought he looked strong. Defensively, he was in the right places at the right times. To be fair, Moana weren't really giving him much to defend. But I thought he did very well.
Yeah.
Dan, did you watch any of it?
I've only watched the highlights of it, unfortunately, but so you guys will know more in depth what his overall game was like. But I think this could potentially be another fab bit of business by the recruitment team down at Rodney Parade, because he's probably going to be coming in cheaper, much cheaper than what Wayno was.
Oh, definitely,
which allows wriggle room for more signings. He's going to be of a certain quality because ultimately he's Super Rugby standard. We know that now because he's made his debut. So there's probably, again, the ceiling's high for him. And much like Anderson down the road at the Scarlets, he's not going to be away with international duty. So if we can keep him healthy, every week you're sending out quality when the international boys are on enforced rest periods and so on and so forth. So could be a real shrewd bit of business from Westy and the rest of the recruitment team. So, fingers crossed he goes well.
I think Dale McLeod's had a hand in this as well, hasn't he? Because these are players he knows.
Yeah.
Kind of both Paya and NEC players he knew.
Yeah.
Also, Solomon Funaki was a player he knew as well. So yeah,
let's not go down that route, please.
You can't win them all.
No,
I think the Funaki thing though is probably more down to the fact that the club didn't do its due diligence around the medical side of things.
It's exactly that.
Because if we'd have got him on the field, having watched a couple of games that he'd been involved with in his highlight reel, clearly he would have been, they probably tried to fill that Funaki gap with this signing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But
he only had one working knee, which was the problem.
Oh, I think, they spent about $100,000 on taping him up for training and trying to wheel him out for the odd game, I think, didn't they? So,
yeah. He played one friendly.
That's it.
2 games for Pooler, I think, and that was it. This lad looks good, though. More age is he, Jamie? You remember stuff like this, I forget.
I actually can't remember his age. Isn't he like 26, something like that?
Yeah, I was going to say he's mid-20s, isn't he? And he's done a lot in whatever that tier below Super Rugby is, the MPC or whatever.
Yeah. He was Player of the Year, wasn't he, in 2025? So,
And they are all professional outfits as well, mind, don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
They run on a professional basis down there. So, no, I think it's a good sign. And what we sort of, I know that, the trade-off is it pushing Welsh talent away, but what we have in a squad now, 3 or 4 South Sea Islanders. And I think
3 Tongans, a New Zealander.
Yeah,
but I think he's a New Zealander of Polynesian heritage as well. Yeah.
And once they obviously like the fact that there's a bit of a friendship group and so on and so forth. It's not as daunting traveling over to the club because people you can go and have coffee and.
Well, it does make a difference. I remember when Ebervale had the Tongans in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And the Vunapola's dad and Talupi's dad were playing there. They had a little cultural thing. I always feared for him a little bit watching them walking around Ebervale in his shorts and flip-flops in October, but...
Yeah. But look, and we joke about it, but if these 4 guys, for example, are going to be on the field, like last year, what was our centre partnership going to Benetton was Westwood and Di Richards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
theory, it's going to be Anisi and Paella now. Yeah. Because we're not losing.
We need greater strength in depth, so in the centres. I think we've addressed it as much as we can do, but and I know Joe Westwood and Ackerman are both young, so I don't want to be overly critical, but it's quite a big drop off when you go away from an Iron and an Anisi and Paella. It's a drop off.
It's a fair point. We need those 2 to kick on now, Westwood and Ackerman. We need them to kick on, and there's talent and potential there. But I think it's been good for Westwood actually to get some game time in Super Rugby coming for Newport. That's something I've been saying on the pod a lot, and it's happening now. When Ackerman is playing a lot for Newport, I think they'll do well going forward. Just check the age. He's 25 to Abertillery, so I wasn't far off, and he can play across the back row as well. So it could be a decent bit of business. And he looked all right, didn't he? He looked all right on Saturday, so fingers crossed he doesn't turn into another Funaki because I can't go through that again.
I don't think that will ever happen again. I think there were lessons learned with Funaki and Harry Wilson.
And Cummins.
Yeah, and Cummins. I think Cummins was age as well, wasn't it, with Cummins?
But his concussion history, I think, was horrendous.
Yeah.
Why you take the risk on something like that? The middle and both ends, whereas the medical end, the side of things was balls right up, I think, which I'm assuming the gap's been plugged on there now.
It feels much better this year.
Yeah, it does. Look at the signings.
But I think the Welsh players we've signed as well over the last 2 years. Shane Lewis-Hughes was a good signing. And kind of Wyn Jones has been a good signing. I don't think we've seen enough of Dylan Lewis, but.
Ollie Burrows has been another very good signing.
Yeah, I really like. Yeah. Well, we are both fully on the Ollie Burrows hype train, aren't we, Jamie? We're both big fans of this.
Gareth wasn't so keen, but he's come around now, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's come around to him.
Solid player.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's Newsdesk done. Let's talk about our big semi-final, our first semi-final in 10 years. It finished Montpellier 18, Dragons 12. Dragons gave absolutely everything. And we were so close, wasn't we? So close to a huge upset out in France. But it's the French giants Montpellier. They're going to head to Bilbao to take on Ulster in the Challenge Cup final. So, yeah, I asked Gareth to give us a match review earlier, give his thoughts on it, because, we do want his input, even though he's not with us. So this is what he said to us. He said, I felt we went out to win. We wasn't overwhelmed by the occasion, but we just couldn't quite get over the line. He said set piece was difficult for us against an unbelievable side, but we stood up against them, he said, and with 10 minutes to go, we could have won it. He says he's proud, but next season, let's aim for a home draw. Yes, that's a good idea. Let's try and get a home knockout draw. And then he just finishes with, I'm really pleased with the effort, and the boys are genuinely gutted, which shows how far we've come. So I know Gareth's been speaking to a lot of the players and coaches. He's been mingling out in Montpellier. So hopefully he might have some news and gossip for us. Okay, Dan, let's start with you then as our guest. So Philo described this game as a could have, should have sort of game. He was right, wasn't he?
I think he was, boys, wasn't he? I'm genuinely disappointed that we didn't win. If I'm honest, I thought we did enough to win. We played in the right areas enough. Our line-out faltered at really important times. Our scrum held up when it needed to, but the other side of the set piece let us down. And then it was just errors in the wrong areas of the field, particularly down in their red zone when we had opportunities and we start throwing the ball around, chucking it around a little bit too much and being a little bit gung-ho with it. But on the whole, I've got to be honest, I'm a proud Gwent man, born and raised in Gwent. Played all my rugby in Gwent. I was part of the Dragon setup early on in my career. I am overly proud of what they've achieved out in Montpellier today and what they've done on this cup run. I couldn't be, in a weird way, I couldn't be happier for the boys. I think we did enough to win the game, and that's testament to how far they've come along. I thought our defence at times was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, we've still got this little habit of compounding penalties.
Yeah.
We concede a penalty generally down near the red zone when we're looking to attack or there's some sort of error. I think the one today that stands out for me, I think it was for their first try where it was a knock on or something, or they forced a bit of an error at the line. They had a scrum penalty, they kicked down, force another penalty, and they kick us into the corner, and eventually they sort of get over and score their first try. That was a little bit Dragonsy, if you like, where we've still got our ability to shoot ourselves in the foot. I thought the front row was good, apart from Elliott's throwing in and the line-out malfunction at time. Not all his fault, I know, but Chrissy Coleman showed up and Martinez showed up for me in the front row.
Yeah.
I thought Thomas Young was outstanding.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Amazing today. Wayno was his usual self, and Ryan Woodman, if he's not Wales' number 6 in the next 4 or 5 seasons, the coaching team have let him down, because I think he's as tough as teak, and has got everything going for him. And I was impressed as well with Tinas again, and I thought Aneurin Owen had another good game. He uses a little bit of class at the right times. That line he picked off the back of the line out to score that try was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And he's tough enough as well. He doesn't look it, but he's tough enough to ride those early challenges and get us over the line. And I thought Angus was good again. Those kicks that Angus was fielding the ball sort of on the left hand side, 15-meter line, and looking for those 50-22s. What do you have? 2 or 3 of those go dead. That was just the wrong side of that's how big his boot is, but. On the whole, I thought it was a very admirable performance, and if we take that level of performance into the next 2 games, there's no reason why we can't beat Edinburgh and go away and beat the Scarlets.
Yeah, 100%. Gav, it was a brilliant effort. We've done Wales proud. Nobody thought the Dragons would get this far. Yeah, we can hold our heads up high, but it does, at the same time, it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity, doesn't it? What was your take on the game?
Well, I'm going to be overtly positive. Because I think, I'm filling Gareth's place now.
You can't be that positive, mate.
No one's that positive. But I think we were a different side than, we've been doing this 3 years now, Jamie, and we wouldn't have been able to stay in games like that even 12 months ago. And the fact that we were constantly in it it's proved positive. And we, even earlier in the season, we were critical of the coaching team, but I think we have to be, well, I'm certainly going to be far more positive. I think they did a fantastic job in melding this group of players into, can go to Montpellier and actually give them something to think about. And there were two moments where if it'd been slightly different, we'd have won. It's when Doyle Richards broke through off that strike run off the line out. And he's thrown the offload to Thomas Young, and it just didn't quite catch it. And then about 10 minutes later, when we were attacking on the other side, and Tina throws an inside pass, I think it was Tina who does it, and their players just there basically. He's read the line, and they've run up the other end of the field. They are two really good try opportunities. We score those.
Yeah, you're right.
Who knows? Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? But I think, and it would look. It's disheartening because we could have won that. But at the start of the season, think of the conversations we were having, Jamie. We weren't thinking we'd get to a semi-final. We were just hoping we'd get out to the group stage. So there are some positive there. And I'd like Dan said, Thomas Young, great player. And as much as I love Harry Beddle, and certainly I'm a massive advocate of him as a player, I think Thomas Young did everything you want a seven to do. He slowed the ball down. He was good in the loose. He just, he was a running option all the time. So I thought he was really good. And Nyron, I think, is great. And has been great all season. And like you say, that line was just perfect. No defence is going to deal with that because he's just saved, he's hit the gap and he's been hard to stop. The scrum was all right. I think there were a couple of times that Chris Coleman did pop up where I think he was such an under intense pressure. But it wasn't really cause this issue. Line-out was an issue. And I think it's about 20 minutes into the game. We've got a penalty. It's kickable. And we went to the corner and we didn't win it. And that was frustrating. And with Angus, I think Angus had one of those games today where he did some great things. I think some of those kicks, I think he just needed to take a couple of meters off and play for territory rather than hitting those 50-22s.
He's going for 50-22, yeah. You mentioned the points on offer, though. Do you think that... And I was of this opinion as well. I was sat there watching the game and going, do you take the easy threes? But they're probably thinking, well, look, we're out in Montpellier. We're going to need to score tries in order to win the game. Maybe at the time, 3 points isn't enough. In hindsight, then you go, well, if we'd have took those, we'd have won the game.
Well, putting your coach's hat on now, Dan, right?
Yeah.
If you know set pieces and working,
yeah.
Would you choose to go for the set piece? I just think from my own coaching point of view.
No, I agree. I do agree with you. I just trying to think the players.
Yeah, I understand why.
The other thing as well for me is cup rugby. You could win it 3-0, or 6-3. So, and ultimately it was only 18-12, wasn't it? So
it didn't feel like a cup semi-final though, because it was a lot more open than I was expecting it to be. Yeah. And Montpellier were looking to move the ball a lot more than I expected. I thought it was going to be a bit more grindy.
You mentioned the 2 intercepts as well, and I picked up on this, but I don't know whether you boys think the same as me. But I think this is the difference in our defensive system to a lot of other teams. What we tend to do is, I think, get off the line and then go soft really early. So we've got no one in those passing lanes, and if you notice, teams always get a bit of an edge on us. Angus is always plug in last man, and they get meterage out on the edge. Whereas what Montpellier did today is they got off the line. It wasn't like a South African style blitz defense, but they defended high, so they're still in the passing lane. So when you're trying those offloads, sometimes they're at best 50-50, and on those 2 occasions where the Dragons probably should have scored and executed, we didn't, and Montpellier end up down in our half. So that was
it's risk and reward, isn't it? It's risk and reward running those kind of intercept channels, because if you miss it, you've opened up a gap in defence. Then it's.
But they defend you once they only get high once the ball's past them. So once the ball's gone past them, they still defend high to sort of block those running lines. And I don't know. I just think that maybe that's where we are coming unstuck a little bit. But I just looking on Rugby Pass now. Our line-out win percentage was 75%.
Yeah, I had that down in my notes.
Oh,
That's the one stat
the one
that stands out to me. 75% line out percentage. I don't want to blame Elliot D here, right?
No.
But I do think Brody should have started because I really like Brody starting and Elliot coming off. Coming on with the experience. I think that served us well. So I was surprised to see Elliot start in this game. I would have started Brody, but I'm not saying that's the reason the lineup fell apart. It was just one of those things as a cohesive unit, isn't it?
There was that point about 20 minutes in when Elliot and Ben Carter are talking. And, I think, Elliot's saying to Ben Carter, what's happening with the calls or whatever.
Yeah.
Line-outs aren't just about how accurate your hooker throws a ball in. It's about lots of other things as well.
Absolutely. Yes, jumpers and everything.
I think as well, we constantly went with too many men in a lineup once we started losing the ball. So if you go in sort of between 6 and 8, they've got more jumping options to be able to map you. And if they're good at reading lineouts, like, if you listen to the rap, I've been a critic of Beard, but the one thing he is good at is mapping a lineout. So he'd be able to defend you well. Whereas if you go to a 4-man lineout, your action will always beat the reaction. You know where the ball's going to go. You can move. You've got 10 meters to move in as a 4-man lineout. You can pick your space and get up, and it's just a case of the hooker making sure he hits you then. Yeah. But I don't know why we didn't shorten the lineouts sooner. As soon as we lose 1 or 2, right, get them shortened until we start winning the ball again.
Yeah. I refed an under-14s game today, and they lined up wasn't working. I said, just boys, drop a couple of your kids. You don't need all of those people, and they just drop them through.
Yeah. It's a fair point. Adam Beer was very good today.
Yeah, I thought he's had best game I saw for what I've seen him out for a while, and I'm not great.
So me and Dan have had arguments about, well, not arguments, debates about disagreements about Adam Beard in the WRRAP group chat, which I'm still a part of. I think Adam Beard's a very good player and he gets a lot of stick, but he was really good today. I still feel Ben Carter did obviously more around the park today than Beard did, but he was very good at his job. His primary job he's very good at. It's just he doesn't carry, he doesn't do offload, he doesn't do the other stuff that people want him to do. But I thought
he's an old-fashioned second row, isn't he? I think second rows now have to be more, kind of rounded as players, but he isn't. Can you remember? Probably a bit before your time, Jamie. Can you remember Derwin Jones?
Played of course, I remember.
Oh yeah,
of course.
See, I thought you were younger. He's not quite Derwin Jones because he was absolutely useless and he was there just because he weren't allowed to lift. And
he's much better than Derwin
lift the
Jones.
sound up. Yeah. But it's that kind of thing. They do one job particularly well on the field.
Yeah. No.
But he did map our line out well today, and we come unstuck there. And look, we get our line out percentage up to in the 90s, and it's probably a different story again, isn't it? But you can't fault the effort from the lads. I thought it was phenomenal. But the thing for me now is this season we've set our bar. This is we can't go back to what it was.
No.
We've set our bar. We've recruited well. I think the ongoing recruitment looks like it's going to be good. We are one of the regions in Wales that are, have solid foundations. We cannot allow it to go back to what it was, because we should be able to compete in Europe to this sort of level. And if we turn those 3 draws that we've had this season into wins, we'd be further up the ladder in the league as well. So we must maintain this. This is now our line in the sand, and we can only get better from you.
No, absolutely. And it's like I've said on this pod, okay, we're 14th at the moment. We might finish 15th. But I don't think that tells the full story. Like, the league table doesn't lie.
No.
But it doesn't always tell the full story. There is context. And those draws and those narrow defeats that we had, they've got to be turned into wins next season. And we're a more competitive, and we're probably a mid-table team. We're not that far away, are we? We have made huge progress this season. We only won 2 games all season last year in all competitions. We have made big strides. This year we've had 7 wins and 3 draws in all competitions.
And the other thing I think that lots of people need to take into, to add a little bit of context around maybe even today's result, is in the last however many weeks we've been away to South Africa, we've been away to Zebra twice, and we've already been away to Paris.
Yeah.
The travel factor, along with trying to maintain, performance sport levels on the field, has been through the roof. You know, we've been away from home for probably 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Constantly, that does have an impact. So, because you guys would have already spoke about it previously, but when we went to Paris and won off the back of being in South Africa, that's what was most impressive to me, is the fact that we've been, the other side of the equator and still managed to go and get results. So that's what makes today's performance again even more impressive. We all know what Montpellier are about and how good they are in the top 14. But the fact as well, we've had all these logistical issues and nightmares and playing away from home for sort of 6 of the last 7 or 8 weeks, I think is, again, massive testament to the boys. It's easy to get up for a game down at Rodney Parade, but to go and perform as they have done away from home so admirably now for weeks on end is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's a massive psychological boost as well. It's a monkey off the back.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Dragons, before that win out in Seaburn last week, they hadn't won in a league for 4 years away from home. So that's a monkey off the back as well. And it's really important for this group to just keep developing, get those monkeys off the back, because it's a psychological game, isn't it, rugby? It's,
yeah, it is.
It really is a psychological game. Can we give a shout out to Rio Dyer? What a brilliant piece of defending to stop Staccato.
Class.
How good was that?
Class.
And it's really weird with Rio, because when I put on the socials about Rio, playing for Wales, I always get some numpty going, but his defence isn't very good. He's not on the team for his defence. And I don't know what they're watching, because I've never had any issues or doubts over Rio's defender. I think he's a better defender than people give him credit for. But if anyone got any doubts about Rio's defence, just watch that, because it was absolutely brilliant. That was one of the best try-saving tackles you'll ever see.
Oh, it is. And if that was coming out of South Africa or somewhere like that, everyone worldwide would be waxing lyrical about it.
Oh, it'd be viral. It'd be going all the rounds, wouldn't it?
And I think this come off that play, didn't it, where we were attacking at the time and we probably should have scored from it. It was about to be like a 14-point swing. But the heart and desire and never say die attitude to get back there almost knocked the ball out of his hand in the tackle in the first place, then have the presence of mind to slip a hand underneath the ball. Just almost play of the season for me. If you're looking at it like play by play, it's absolutely top class, world class defending from our left winger. You won't see better anywhere else.
No, absolutely superb. Here's what I was thinking, and I don't know if you guys agree with this. We talked about the kicking game a lot on last week's pod. To me, and I could be in the minority here, I don't feel like we kicked anywhere near as much as we should have done. But what do you two think of that? Because I was surprised we didn't kick as much as I thought we would.
We kicked the ball 30 times.
Really?
According to Rugby Pass, we kicked the ball 30 times. But I'm surprised at that as well, Jamie, because, as you said, I think we did overplay a little bit in the middle third.
It doesn't feel like we kicked the ball 30 times. I've got to be honest. I am surprised by that.
No, it doesn't. Don't get me wrong, that's probably going to include like Di Richards', chip and chase attempt and all of these other little bits and pieces. But you're right, tactical kicking is probably then lower. And I do think there were times where we did overplay in the middle third on and around the halfway line, where we go in multi-phase and, phase count is a hidden risk factor, I think, in modern day rugby. The more phases you go in the wrong area of the field, the higher risk level there is of, a tired forward dropping the ball, knocking the ball on, you conceding a penalty, them getting a turnover and being able to play on transition. So, yeah, I think you're probably right there. Even though the stats will say we kicked the ball 30 times, I don't think we kicked it enough in the right areas.
No.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I'm old school. I'm a firm believer you don't play any rugby in your own half if you can avoid it.
No, I'd agree.
No, absolutely.
I'd absolutely agree.
Yeah. Scrum, I don't think was as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought we were going to get absolutely pulverized at the scrum. Now, we did have our struggles. That was always going to be the case. But I thought we did okay. But the line out, as we mentioned earlier, I think set piece did let us down today.
I thought the scrum struggled more than you both did. It didn't struggle as much as I thought it would.
Yeah, I do think I was expecting to be far worse. I'm not saying it didn't struggle, it did, but I thought it was going to be much worse than what it was. But the most unfortunate thing, though, was Angus when he dropped that kick, when he knocked on in front of our post. And you just knew, because I said to my mate in the pub, I said, they're going to scrum now and they're going to score off this. And that's exactly what they did. It was, it was such a bad error. I don't want to be too critical because it was a really good performance. Well, Angus was good, but that moment where he knocked on like that in that position as well, you just knew Montpellier were going to take full advantage of it. Crucial moment.
Kind of sums up probably where we are at the minute, though. Maybe is that one error, is the difference between us winning and losing. In the overall game. I know there's other factors as well, but you look back at it now and you go, if he'd have fielded that ball and kicked it 40 metres up the field as he normally would have done, we wouldn't be in that position. It's such a difficult scrum position to defend as well. Split scrum, middle of the field. Basically, as a defender, you get something wrong and it's 7 points. So, yeah, I agree with you with what you're saying there. I thought, our penalty count was pretty good. It was 9, so that kept us in the game. Our discipline was probably better than it's normally been. And the other stat that I thought was interesting as well is we had 96 ball carries for 197 metres, which I think is a pretty decent return.
That's not bad
on the face of it, and six line breaks in that. So it shows. I think today's performance shows where we've come, even in this season, from the start of the year, where, Christ, we couldn't score in a brothel, could we, to start off with? But we,
no.
we
that's a good analogy. Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
we're sort of starting to click a little bit better now. So, our defensive effort was good. 87% completion rate on our tackles, not too bad.
No,
you'd want it higher than that, though, really, wouldn't you? Not much.
It's not bad. It's not a bad stat, though.
Yeah, you want to be in the 90s, really.
Yeah, you would want to be, but I suppose what I'm kind of looking at is the stat comparison. They had an 80% completion stat on theirs. However, they made much less tackles than us, so we defended for longer periods than they did, and that's where I think, like, when you have such a soft defensive line, you're offering teams onto you all the time. Now, I'm not criticising our defence as such, because it's much improved compared to what it was. But the more you soak up, the more you offer a soft edge, the more you offer teams onto you.
Yeah, of course.
And that's the trade-off with harder line. Speed is you can get picked off a little bit more, but it's tough defending. These are big men to be running at you all the time. So I don't know whether that's something that would improve us or not. But I got to be honest, I'm struggling to criticise the boys today. It's always easy to find something to nitpick on, and there were some errors here and there, but I thought they were fantastic, and I'm genuinely disappointed for them. I hope they have a good night out in Montpellier this evening now and have a few beers. And
they're flying back this evening, I think, aren't they?
That's crap, isn't it?
Yeah, they are flying back, as Gareth's on the chartered flight with the players today. He said on the group he's flying back.
Oh, you can imagine tonight on the news at 10, flight diverted between Montpellier. Dragons fans go nuts. Yeah,
you are right though, Dan. You don't want to be too critical. Obviously, I do think it's right to highlight
I agree.
The key moments. I think we do have to highlight the errors. I think that's fair. But we're not doing it in a too critical way, but we are pointing out where the key moments in the game. I think that's the right thing to do.
No, you're absolutely right.
If you'd asked me in November what my grade was for the season, I'd have been a D, even a D minus, and now firmly in the B territory. We need to get a lot better and win more games, clearly. But that's not going to happen overnight. But it's gradual. You can see the increments now.
Yeah, and I think as well, you can clearly see that we have an attacking game plan now. We have, we know what we're going to do when we haven't got the ball. Our defensive pattern is, whether we agree with it or not, and I'm not saying I disagree with it, I'm just saying that there's pros and cons to every defence, isn't there? The cons with the one, where we go a little bit soft is on the edges, that you give up meterage. But I hope the boys pick up on this as well, is that you are right, Jamie, errors matter. And that ultimately today, the team that conceded the least errors, probably, I don't think we got an error stat, but the team that conceded the least unforced errors probably won the game.
Yeah.
So maybe the best team maybe didn't win, but the team that conceded the least errors wins. Now, if you're a professional rugby player and you were looking at some of these games this season going, well, those 3 draws, If our error count, personal error count, weren't maybe as high, we'd have won those, and we'd have won a semi-final. So what have I got to do to get those 1%ers better, which means I'm not going to make those errors next year.
And the Stormers game out in Cape Town as well, we could have won that.
Exactly. So that's how close, I hope some of them realise that's how close they are now, because I don't think it can be a case of blaming the system or the game plan anymore, because clearly the coaches have come in and developed that. Okay, it's happened over the course of the season maybe, but I think we've got a clear identity now. So therefore, maybe there's some ownership and accountability on the players to go and improve those sort of 1%ers everywhere as well now to take the team to the next level again.
Yep, spot on. It's fine margins, isn't it? It's a game of fine margins, and Dragons do need to nail those key moments. A couple of shout-outs we spoke about already, but the stats are fantastic. Thomas Young, brilliant game. 24 tackles, 3 turnovers won, 3 defenders beaten.
Wow.
We're starting to see, and we spoke about this on the last pod we did, didn't we, Gavin? We're starting to see Thomas Young now, as he was for Cardiff for Wasps. We're starting to see prime Thomas Young. And he's not a spring chicken anymore, but he's getting back to his best, and that's really important for us. And Iron Owen was fantastic again. 2 tries. He beat 6 defenders, and Iron Owen. 6 defenders beaten. That really did surprise me, but it also shows how much he's developed in his game. And I don't know about you, Dan, as well. I think he's a lot more physical this season. Like, he's more confident now to run into people, into big men. He's taken on the physical challenge. Is that something that you've noticed as well?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that he's very much he has got that ability to get us that gain line. I think we probably brought the likes of Paella in and Anisi, thinking that we'd struggle for some gain line. But in fairness to Angus, 9 times out of 10, when he's asked to truck those hard yards up, he always gets gain line for us now. I don't know.
I think though. Sorry, go on, Dan.
No, I was just going to say, finish off. I don't know whether that's something that they've changed his strength and conditioning a little bit, or whether he's actually picked it up from the likes of Paella and Nissi, who've come into the squad and he's gone, oh, look at the way they're running lines, look at the close quarter footwork, etc., to get beyond the gain line. Maybe it's something they've worked on internally with him, but he's definitely improved.
I think it's but slightly different, but the way he's getting the ball as well. Last season, he was getting the ball really flat, and you can't build up head of steam basically when you're catching the ball 2 foot away from the bloke intent on folding you up.
Yeah,
and he's getting the ball slightly deeper.
Well, and now you talk about the play from the line out for his try today. He charged onto that ball from meters back. The ball was flat at the line. He's come at it, hit the gap. And if he beat 6 defenders, I reckon he beat 4 of them in that play alone.
I just think last year it was all far too flat.
Yeah,
and he's not the player. You know, if you're playing now rugby, you need Jamie Roberts or someone like that, really, don't you? Just hitting the line and dragging people over. But yeah, he's got that space to work in now, and I think it's really made the difference to him.
He's been outstanding this season. And his partnership with EDC has been wonderful.
He's a good ball player as well, see? He's a good ball player. He's incredibly good defensively. And how many turnovers has he had for us this season as well?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genuine jackal threat. So, you know, he's developing an all-court game. You know, and we know that, you know, from a Wales perspective, they want to play with a ball playing 12. Well, and Iron Owen can do that. And we've seen that he's physical enough to truck the ball up. You know, I don't want to upset anyone down the M4 now, but I take an Iron Owen over Ben Thomas any day of the week.
Yeah, so I like Ben Thomas, but I think an Iron Owen's a better player.
I think with an Iron, it's always been about his size, isn't it, in relation to the international game. Like he's been in a conversation where people say he's not big enough. I think that's the only thing really that's held him back from having the Wales Cup. But he has been outstanding this season. This game has really kicked on. He's up there for Dragons Player of the Season. Like, if we're going to do a shortlist, he's on that shortlist.
He is my Player of the Season, I think.
Yeah.
I might change between now and the last pod of the season, but
it's a fair shout, though. Yeah, he has been good. And you mentioned the Thomas Young factor as well. We actually played against his younger brother on Saturday when Abertillery played at Aberdeen. It must run in the family because... his brother was like a limpet over every ball on the floor, and his ball carrying was phenomenal. I had to look twice to make sure it wasn't Thomas himself. So it must be a family business up there.
And do you know what? I liked their dad, Da Young. I liked him as coach at Cardiff. I think Da Young's a really good coach. It's a shame what happened, his departure from Cardiff is a bit strange. We'll never quite know what happened there. But I always rated Da Young as a coach. Yeah, so good stuff. I think final thoughts from me then. I think this has been a very successful Challenge Cup campaign. When you think about the opening round, that woeful defeat out in Perpignan, that pod that me and Gareth had to do, and we were still pretty angry. We were fresh from watching that game. Gareth had a few drinks. It was tough, and I'm not going to lie. I even had this conversation with Gareth. I think I had it with you though, Gavin. I did say to you after that game. I think I texted you saying I might knock this on the end now. The pod.
We did have that conversation.
I'd had a gut full of the Dragons. I'd had a gut full of them because they put in another pathetic performance. The talk of cutting the region, we were public enemy number one. Everyone was saying that we should be cut. We had, Foxies, your Cuthberts and your Warburtons. We were getting former pros really sticking the knife into the Dragons. And I was getting really annoyed because the Dragons, in my opinion, weren't doing enough to change the narrative. And I said, you know what? I think I'm done now. This was a Perpignan team that lost all their first 11 games, wasn't it? And we went there and we just
capitulated.
Yeah, absolutely terrible performance. And I said to you, I think this might be my last season doing this pod now because I can't keep talking about these performances anymore. I got other things to do in my time, to be honest.
We did have that conversation, didn't we?
We did. And I was ready to knock it on the head. I had a gut full of them. But the Challenge Cup has actually saved our season because that win against Lyon, when we finally won at home for, I can't even remember, was it something stupid? Like 18 months we won. We hadn't won at home since we beat the Ospreys. And the relief that we had from winning that game. But ever since that Lyon game, we really kicked on. Because we battered Connacht. We stuffed the Scarlets. We should have beaten Cardiff. We had a really good festive period after we'd beaten Lyon. That win in the Challenge Cup gave us so much confidence and momentum. And then we saw it in the late... Okay, we won't talk about Benetton, but the only reason we got 70 plus points bronze, we did... Philo got the tombola out. He made mass changes. It was never going to end well. Joe Westwood and Di Richards in the centre. We know what happened, right? But this European campaign has given us so much confidence and belief. And Stad away, that will go down as one of the greatest wins in this club's history. It was a brilliant win for the Dragons and for Welsh rugby in general. So I'm really pleased we got this far. Never thought it'd happen. And I think we can hold our heads high and say, we did a really good job flying the flag for Wales in Europe. And everyone associated with the Dragons could be proud of our efforts.
Do you think, though, going back to the Perpignan fixture, do you think it was very much a case of we were, again, I think we've been exposed this season on depth. And I'll read you I got the starting lineup for Perpignan in front of me now. Martinez, Scarf, Yendall, Screech, Carter, Lewis Hughes, Martin Young, Williams, O'Brien, Westwoods, Richards, Inisi, Dyer and Evans. Now, for me, Scarf, I don't think we've really seen Sam Scarf again. Yendall's not played much for us. Screech again as a Mackenzie Martin. And the centre pairing, well, we know what happened again there down at when we went out to Westwood. I think we've only got to make, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 changes down the spine of your team, and that's what happens to the Dragons. We go and get pumped.
That's the depth issue, though, isn't it?
That is a depth issue, yeah. And I'm not saying the boys are not trying.
Oh, no,
But some lads, when you compare that to the team that we put out today, which is missing the likes of Rob Hunt, then it's night and day. It really is night and day.
Sports meritocracy, and having the best players makes you a better team. And and you can coach players to get better, but you can only coach up to a certain point. Players have a ceiling, and for some players it's a much higher ceiling than others, but you can only do it up to that ceiling. And I'm really just of the view, I made my tortured burger analogy last week, but we want players who's going to make it better. I think, and we have to be really quite ruthless about some of the players we have and say, actually, it's not going to work. This isn't what we need right now. And what I want to be in a position, because I recognise it's grueling, and particularly when you're having to go to South Africa and Italy and places, and playing European competitions too, where you can drop a Nyron, you can drop an Easy, and it's not like, oh God, what's going to be next? I just want that depth all the way through. And then I want, so we don't have to throw players like Joe Westwood and Ackerman and again, Luke Yandel or whoever, we don't have to throw them into the mix, so we can put them in at games where it's going to be better for them, more conducive.
No, I get that, but this isn't a new problem. The Dragons have always had a depth issue. And going back to our Perpignan game, I can remember me and Gav looking at that team, and I think you did as well, Gavin, when we shared the team sheet on the group chat. I think we all said that's a decent team that can get a result against a team that hasn't won a game all season. Perpignan were absolutely awful at that point. And we went there, we just completely capitulated. It was awful. But this isn't a new thing for the Dragons, the depth issue. And you are right, Dan. I think once you start taking away 3 or 4, maybe 5 players out of that Dragons starting 15, it does tend to look a little bit weaker. And it's not the player's fault. We would never criticise a player for the lack of effort. It's not about that. And we have to be careful what we say on this pod, but it's pretty clear there are still some players in our Dragon squad who aren't quite up to it. And I think we know who they are. And we don't need to mention names because I think the supporters who listen to this will know who we're talking about.
I think what we're missing in the squad is that middle layer of player. So we've got what would be our first team. Then the boys that we're reliant on thereafter are the lads that should still be playing their trade in the SRC. You take Westwood and Ackerman as an example, right? Now, I got no doubt they're both Wales 20s internationals, both cracking players, but they are being thrown into the deep end in their early 20s where maybe they shouldn't have to so much. But we're reliant on them to plug gaps because we haven't got those sort of old pros that are still knocking around at that middle tier. So when you lose your front lines, say your Owens and your NEC, we haven't got like a Boshoff coming in behind or someone like that, the best squads in the world have got that middle tier of pro before they've got to rely on their youngsters.
Yeah, Montpellier, for example. They've got like 2 or 3 internationals in every position. Sorry, Gavin, I cut you off there.
Well, your back row now, we have got that depth. I think we can make changes in the back row, and it's not a problem. Second row is becoming increasingly a place where you think it's all right. Even the front row, Hooker, we're spoiled for choice, but I think with the props, we're unfortunate that we just kept breaking tight heads. It's in the backs where there isn't that depth for me yet.
Yeah,
and we've had to throw Hugh Anderson in, like you said, and I think that's had a negative effect on his development.
Yeah, and because what we're having to do with them as well is they're coming in as changes, so they're not playing with the frontline boys. Like Louis Hennessy played for Bath today against Bordeaux, right? But he's come into the team, Louis Hennessy, and he's playing with Finn Russell and your Ollie Lawrences and your Ben Spencers, all the best players in that Bath team.
Yeah.
Whereas when Joe Westwood comes in, I feel sorry for him because he's playing with Richards out of position at 13. He's playing with someone else, on the wing. He's playing with young people around him as well. So they're losing that leadership through the spine of the team. And they're not having that apprenticeship, if you like, where he's being put in where he's got our best players around him. Now, when we do that, we see what he's capable of, like down at the Ospreys a few seasons ago, where he burst onto the scene, scoring that try down at Liberty. That's what the likes of Joe's capable of. But you've got to put the quality around him as well because, quality breeds quality.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's a fine balance to be struck as well, isn't it? Because, yes, you want the young players to get the opportunities, like we're seeing at Tighthead, Owain James. Now, he's only 20, and he's probably played more games than he should have, but we had to because of the injury to Robert Hunt, and that's a problem. You look at the loose head, when we had Wyn Jones out injured and Martinez was out injured, we having to bring in Jordan Morris. I got really high hopes for Jordan Morris. I think he's going to be a fantastic player, but we probably shouldn't have played him as much as what we have. What you need is an experienced guy to come in to replace the next cab off the rank, don't you? And it feels to me like we lose a key experienced guy and we stick in a kid. And it just doesn't work, and that's where the drop-off comes in.
Well, we've had a bench this year, I'm sure, where we've had Wills Austin at hooker, Morris and Owen James as our front row replacement. Now, for me, in order to bring those guys on, Jordan Morris comes off the bench, but he comes off the bench when Elliot Dee or Ollie Burrows is playing, and you've got Rob Hunt on the other side. So he's having that, and you've got our best second row behind him. So he's having that, he's got Levi behind him as well, who's giving him all 19.5 or 20 stone of weight. And it's much easier for him then to break into those professional ranks rather than having to come on with someone that you've signed on a temporary contract and someone who's out of the senior academy the same as you on that side. Oh, and by the way, the second rows have changed and Screechy's in there who's not offering me as much weight, and you're going, oh, holy shit, a minute, how am I meant to cope with this? I went down to the Leinster game earlier on in the season, and Leinster brought on Slimani, and I'm pretty sure we brought on Jordan Morris, and I felt really sorry for him because down the tight head of the Leinster team was Slimani and RG Snyman scrummaging against Jordan Morris, who I hope goes on as 50 caps for Wales. He's got a high ceiling, no doubt about it. But talk about out the frying pan and into the fire. But that's the depth problem that we got. We've got our frontline boys, and then you've got to go into the lads that are in the senior academy to plug the gaps thereafter.
It's a fair point. But this is where, as well, recruitment is really important now.
Yeah.
Because we've had a really good recruitment drive this season. That's been a big part of why the Dragons are kicked on.
Mm-hmm.
We need another strong recruitment drive for the next 3-4 years, I think, to get Dragons to be really competitive. And when I say really competitive, I'm talking about pushing for playoffs and reaching, knockout stages in Europe on a regular basis. I think we can't just have one really good recruitment drive and then drop off. We got to keep this up now for the next 3 or 4 years to keep recruiting strong. It's difficult, and it is a challenge given the Dragons' reputation and budget. But we've already had a strong recruitment drive. We can do it again. That's what we need to keep doing.
Yeah, I'd agree, because the other factor that we got to think about all this is as we are improving,
other teams are.
Other teams are, but also if we are bringing on someone like Inisi, who I think is pretty young, and he starts getting better and better and better over his 2 or 3 year deal with the Dragons.
He's mid-20s, I think, Inisi might be a bit older. Yeah.
Well, someone over the bridge might go, well, we like him. Wonder if he wants to go to Bristol. So then we're also losing that talent that we're bringing in because we're putting them in the shop window and we're developing. And I think the other factor that's really important to the development.
He's 28 in 2 weeks.
Maybe he's a bad example then, but you know the sort of thing.
I totally get what you're saying.
I suppose like I know Wayno's getting on, but we would like to keep Wayno, wouldn't we? But ultimately he's gone for a fresh challenge. But the other thing I think is vitally important, and this is where the union comes back into the development of especially I suppose our front rowers, is the SRC needs to be better. It needs to be a genuine pathway league. And ultimately, the teams that are in there needs to be, in my opinion, the sort of second team then of the regions, whereby, if you're injured and you need some game time, you go and play for, in our case, Pontypool, Abertillery or Newport. Or if you're a senior academy boy, you go and play in that league, not these like journeymen, semi-pro lads that are still knocking around at some of these clubs that are great rugby players.
You'll set Jamie off on his Ebervale rant.
Well, Ebervale.
I wasn't going to bring that up. You brought that up, Gavin, not me. But yes, you're absolutely right. Ebervale the worst fit. Continue.
but it's not serving. It's not serving the pro game as it should.
No, I agree.
For me now, the regions and the SRC should be ring fenced as the pro game, and then the Welsh Premiership is the quote unquote the club game and the semi pro or amateur level thereafter. But we need to improve that SRC level where all of these boys are playing week on week and scrummaging against each other and working against each other. And, the SRC should be at the level where if Rob Hunt needs game time as he comes back from his injury now, it should be a good enough standard for him to go and turn out for one of our 3 clubs in order to get some game time under his belt.
Could you imagine having a scrummage against him for an SRC journeyman lad would be knocking about for a while, geez.
Exactly, but what he should be doing is if he turns out for, I don't know, Pontypool or whatever, and Jordan Morris is playing for Newport, how good's that for Jordan?
Yeah.
But when I went to the Newport Pontypool derby of Ronnie Parade, Pontypool had an All Dragons front row. Dylan Keller-Griffiths, Sam Scarf, and Luke Yendall, and Rodri Jones, who just come back from injury, was playing for Newport as well. So it's really interesting to see him come back from his injury, but scrummaging up against Luke Yendall,
But
so,
you know then that the quality of that competition's good.
Yeah.
Because they're both pros. So you know that they're getting work properly. He's not gone back and played against someone who's been plastering 5 days a week and trains on a Tuesday and a Thursday and has, just made a career of anchoring down the scrum at tight head for the last 10 or 15 years. Not there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But that's what the semi-pro and amateur game is for, not what the SRC is for. And that's where I think the change needs to come in our league.
Professional props and amateur props are very different things, aren't they? Because I've played with fantastic props who, kind of could scrummage all day, but getting around the park was not something they would do a great deal of. No. And, but in the professional game, you can't be like that. You've got to be athletic enough to get around the field.
Yeah, and look, the other thing as well, in the amateur game, a lot of these props are brought up on cheating like there's no tomorrow. I played rugby and coached this season David Cripps, who's the son of Brandon Cripps, Gwent legend. I mean, Dav on Scrummage Square on the scrummage machine on a Tuesday night. Everything's everything's been at an angle, unless the referee stood his side. Then he's nice but there's no ARs or anything like that. So they cheat like there's no tomorrow.
I think I'm not saying players have been coached like this, but I was refereeing under 14s today, and I was having to tell the props their bind's too short. You need to get that bind longer. It's and some of that will be inexperience, but some of it will also be start there, come in, pull them in.
Yeah, where they being coached by some old school tight head somewhere who used to get away with it. Yeah, so. But yeah, I going back to the SRC, I think there's a definite gap there. It's nowhere near at the level that it should be a minute, and it's not servicing the pro game as it should do.
If you compare it to like the English Championship, the English Championship, they don't even get promoted, but there are quality players in there, but also players from the bigger clubs playing down on loan, and it's a competitive league. And the SRC, whilst it's competitive, I don't think is giving them the footing to then go and play.
Yeah, and
you will see.
And I don't think they have it anymore, but they used to have over the bridge as well what they called the A-League. Like back in my time, it was the Guinness A-League, and basically every pro team in England had a seconds. Bristol United, Bath United.
They don't tend to do it now. Most of those boys who aren't playing end up playing in the Championship or playing in the Premier Cup. So a lad. He's the son of a guy I used to play with, Ronnie Dory Palmer. He's at Leicester. He started Harlequins. He's at Leicester. He's only 22, 21. But basically he gets licensed to clubs and he plays in the Championship.
Well, maybe that's even better for them. I don't know, but we seem to have lacked that, haven't we? Since professionalism has come in, and certainly since the regions have come in, I can't ever remember the stat that the level below. No one's ever had like a seconds team or where the competition's been genuinely of professional standard, and maybe this is where we've come unstuck over the last few years.
Yeah, it's a fair point. We've digressed a bit. We went into full SRC. It's fine. It's okay. I don't mind. It's an interesting debate, but we definitely digressed. Right. Do any of you two have any further thoughts on today's game or just the Dragons in general in Europe?
No.
Dan?
No, I just like to reiterate what I said. I think it's been a fantastic effort. I think testament goes to Philo. He comes across on the telly as, yeah, mate, and it's all of this little bit stuttery. But the biggest sort of accolade I think you can get as a coach is the boys are buying into what you want to do. Yeah. And I think he's managed to achieve that. So they must think a lot of him. They've bought into the way that he wants to play the game, and the way that he leads the group is clearly good. And let's take this into next weekend now. What have we got? A 6-day turnaround, is it, to Edinburgh?
Saturday night we're playing.
Saturday night, there you go. So let's go and stick it to him at the parade.
Yeah, absolutely. Right then, moving on, time for a bit of housekeeping now. If you enjoyed the pod, please leave us a nice review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'll get you a shout out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video and press the hype button. I know some of you do, and that's really appreciated. Just helps the channel to grow and makes it easier for people to find us. We've had one new review, Gav. This is from Jim on Spotify. He says, the best Dragons rugby therapy you can listen to. We are therapy. Everyone says you are therapy. This is great therapy for long-suffering Dragons fans. He says, excellent podcast, given the highs and lows and everything else that comes with following Dragons rugby, without making it sound like a cry for help. I mean, there have been. I'm going to say, I don't know if Jim's a new listener, but there have been moments, haven't there, Gav, in the 3 years we've done this, where it has sounded like a cry for help. But like I said, I said earlier, but I have come close to knocking this pod on the head because I've had enough. Just had enough of it. But no, we'll keep going for now. Half tactical insight, half group therapy, essential listening. Up the Dragons. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Jim. It's much appreciated. Gives us 5 stars on Spotify. Right then, Gwent Rugby Round-up, Gav, included a very, very, very fortunate win for Ebu over Gwent rivals Newport. Do you want to tell us about it?
The records don't show how fortunate wins were. They only show if you won or not.
All right, just get on with it, please.
And Ebervale will be marching triumphantly into the final against Llandovery after their win against Newport. I'm not anti-Newport, listeners, but I am pro-Ebu. Just 2 games of our sides. Llangennis 26, Bargoed 42. Good away win for Bargoed there. And Newbridge 42, Narber 35. Defence is clearly not on top that day. Into the championship, and you might want to put your hands over your ears now, Dan. Aberdare 29, Abertillery Blind and Gwent 24, but 2 bonus points.
2 bonus points.
That's all right.
Still gives you the trapdoor's not swung open fully yet, as you said.
Not yet.
You go to Rumney,
do the business
next week, and get 4 tries, starting from scoring, and who knows what happens.
Exactly.
And I've managed not to write down Chalky's score. I've got Halloween 38, Treorchy, I think it was 26, but I might have got that wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me. Division 1 East and Newport High School All Boys 47, Bedlinog 31. In Division 2, Newport Saracens 10, Caldecott 18. Division 3, Risca 15, Chepstow 39. Division 4, Oakdale 42, Abertillery 0. Division 5, Bargoed Athletics 66, Bettlers 10. So, Dan, you'll know about this. Those athletic sides, so that's like the second 15s, isn't it? The Bargoed Athletic, Penaltha Athletic.
Yeah, unfortunately, there seems to be and I don't know my opinion on it, but at the minute, there's a lot of effectively genuine club seconds teams playing in Division 5, Division 6. A lot of them are getting promoted at the minute. So you're going to have teams like, you mentioned Bargoed there. Bargoed, for example, are going to have a Premiership team, and I would have thought soon a team that's probably around Division 3. So, I don't know where that stops. It's tough.
It's in the English game. It's last couple of seasons. It's really been a bit of a battle of conscience for some. So each of the county boards in England have a slightly different take on how far lower 15s can go.
Yeah.
But in Kent, where there's some quite dominant teams in Kent, and their highest league, before you start getting into regional and national leagues, is full of second and third 15s of the Canterburys, the Tunbridge Juddians, the clubs who have, some, and it's dangerous because I know boys who play first team rugby in Kent, and they're coming up against lads who are coming back from injury who are championship players or kind of English National 1 players.
Yeah, and I think this is partly to do as well with the way they changed youth rugby. They changed youth rugby in Wales to under 18s and not under 19s now. So you've got to be able to bridge that gap. The gap from youth rugby into especially sort of top level senior rugby, Division 1 and above, I would say, is massive. That gap is huge. So you've got to try and bridge that somehow. And I suppose if you want to run a seconds team, you want to know it'll ultimately service your first team. So
that's the whole point of having twos, isn't it?
So if you're playing in the first team, if your first team's in the Premiership, for example, like Bargoed is, you don't really want your second team playing in Division 6.
No,
because setting you up to play Prem rugby. So,
well,
yeah,
it's not going to be that useful either, is it? I know kind of Nutridiga played Penaltha Athletic, and they said a Nutridiga have been dominant in that league last couple of years, but you've found it difficult. But going on to Division 6, where Nutridiga sealed promotion for next year with a 36-12 win away to Mago.
Well done.
I spoke to Steph. They're very pleased. They're very happy with those results.
Good stuff.
Women's Premiership, Annesley 12, Buryport 27, and Division 1 East in the women's, Blackwood 18, Abertillery 48.
Lovely stuff. Is that it, Gaff?
Yeah, not many games this weekend.
Cool. Just one result I want to read out. So after the game, the Dragons Montpellier game, I rushed straight to Rodney Parade. It was Matthew Sheen's Memorial Cup match between Hartridge and Pill Harriers. Very well attended. Bisley was quite full. Very entertaining game. Hartridge won 31-28. Had a thoroughly good time. They even had the Man United Liverpool game on the big screen in Rodney Parade. If you wanted to multitask, which was a bit weird because I'm watching rugby on the one hand and then people are cheering because United have scored. So it was a bit distracting, to be honest. But no, it was a good day.
Did you get a tea and a Kit Kat?
No, I did have a pint though.
Oh, nice.
I actually had a pint. Yeah, no, I didn't go for it. It was too hot for tea and Kit Kat. It was roasting. It's a sun trap, Rodney Parade. Because I'm always in the Bisley anyway, but I was right at the front. And the sun was directly in my eyes. I'm wearing a hoodie as well, which my wife wasn't happy with. She's like, why have you got that on? Are you stupid? It's boiling. I was like, the weather forecast on the app said it was going to be cool and cloudy, except it didn't. It was absolutely roasting, and I had the sun in my eyes. So somebody lent me the sunglasses. They were women's sunglasses. I didn't care. So I had a good time anyway. Yeah, I just want to put out there.
Ebervale appeared to be playing in a paddy field in the game against Newport.
Oh, terrible pitch up there. Absolutely awful. But yeah, well played both teams. Hartridge Vets beat Pill Harriers Vets. It was a very enjoyable game. I put a video on the socials as well. So yeah, well played both teams. Right, let's look forward to Saturday night. The Dragons are back in URC action against Edinburgh, so they haven't got long to lick their wounds. This is going to be Aaron Wainwright's last game at Rodney Parade as a Dragon. And already I'm starting to feel quite emotional about that. Looking ahead to the weekend, Philo said, we've got our last home game next weekend against Edinburgh. A lot of milestones to celebrate. Some people, he says, won't be here next season. He went on to say, it's Scarlets after that, and that'll be our season. We just want to finish strong, not just for the group, but for our fans as well. We've got to keep going. So, Dan, I'll come to you on this one then. So, I want to put yourself now in the coach's shoes. No doubt there will be some tired and battered bodies after Montpellier, but would you make any changes for Edinburgh on Saturday night? Or do you go same again? Because we do want a home win, don't we, to see off the the departing players your Waynos, and the home fans could really do with a home win just to finish the season on a high. So how would you do it? How would you go about this game?
I would go as full tilt as possible.
Yeah.
Whatever Philo has in his mind as being his best match day 23, I would go with that. Personally, I think Wayno has done such a job at the club that he should be honoured with having the best players available on the field around him at the right time. Granted, there'll be some boys that may not be regulars in and around the squad that may be moving on or not having their contracts renewed. I don't think we can be sentimental about this. It's pro sport at the end of the day. You know, Wayno's obviously not one of those fringe players, so he would be starting in your best 15. And I would go full tilt because I also think Edinburgh are there for the taking. And I think we can roll that momentum. I would go full tilt for the last two games, Jamie, if I'm honest, because I think there are 2 wins there, and that would take our season on to another level again for me.
Exactly the same. Just empty your tanks over 2 games.
Yeah.
Then go off to Ibiza for a couple of weeks or whatever. Kind of recharge.
Exactly that.
So that's the consensus then. So we go strong. We pick ourselves back up.
Both games.
Both
Put
games,
the best 22 you can or 23 in both games.
Because I think we got let me just bring the table up in front of me now. So if we can pick up 10 points, it'll take us to 35. And that could potentially see us finish, potentially, above Edinburgh, who are currently on 33, depending on what they get out of their remaining fixtures. But it'll see us definitely finish above the Scarlets. They won't be able to catch us. I'd love to finish as not the worst Welsh team.
Yeah. We've only been the worst Welsh team in the last 2 years of this pod. It'd be nice to have you where we aren't.
Yeah, so it was Dean Ryan's first season in charge. So it was 2019, 2020. That was the last time Dragons were not bottom Welsh region. And I would love to finish above the Scarlets, and I think we deserve to, quite frankly. But yeah, there's still plenty to play for, isn't there? Like, if you're the coaches, you're saying, boys,
loads.
Let's end the season on a high. Let's carry on the momentum, give Wayno the send-off he deserves, and let's not be bottom Welsh region. I think that's a lot of motivation. I know some players will be on the beach, so to speak, but I don't think we should be. I think we should go into these games now, go in full strength, gung-ho, and try and finish another 2 league wins. That'd be really good for us, wouldn't it? That'd be really, really good.
Well, that would take the Dragons into, played 18, we would have won 5, lost 10, and drawn 3.
Yeah, compared to last year where we won just 1 league game.
Exactly. So, and we can talk to the cows come home how those 3 draws should have been 3 wins. That's how close we've been to really turning that around. So, yeah, I think and look, the other factor is as well, there's constantly anywhere between sort of 5,000 and 8,000 people down at Rodney Parade, week in, week out, for home games that have been there through what must be some of the most turgid level of rugby ever.
They deserve a medal. Those supporters, they have suffered more than any other fan base. The other region's fan base will never understand the struggles. They won't.
You're right.
The season ticket holders like yourself, Jamie, and Gareth, and all the guys that we know and listen to the pod, they all deserve some form of kind of a CBE or something, because at that level of faith is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been pushed. It's been pushed really hard.
It has, which is also why when you turn up, because I got no doubt you'll be there next week for Edinburgh. That's why as fans, you deserve to have the best 23 available.
That's a good argument.
Yeah. That's why because let's not forget, like any sport, it's a spectator-driven sport, and you deserve, having been through with the boys week in, week out this season, and for previous years, you deserve to have the best 23 put out. That's my opinion. And
I'm a firm believer. Professional sport, you should put the best available team out, or a team capable of competing at that level every week. I understand you have to rotate, but it has to be able to compete. If you put in the team out, is going to get panelled, something's going wrong.
Yeah, and there's no, it's no coincidence, is it, that you'll have more kids down at the game, I would have thought, again, because the Dragons have been playing better. They do all the tag rugby stuff at half time.
They do,
what you want is for some kid who's 9, 10, 11 years of age to turn around and go, I want to be like Rio Dyer, or I want to be the next Aaron Wainwright. Because they stand more of a chance of making it in rugby than they do in any other sport. And that's why whenever we play at home, it's different when you go away and you're out in Leinster and all these other different places, I get it. But when you're at home, we should be putting out the best 23 available for me every single week.
That's fair enough. I just hope there's a big crowd down at Rodney Parade for our last home game, because I think the marketing team now, if they're smart, the Dragons marketing team, they focus this around Aaron Wainwright. They make it all about him. This is your final opportunity now to see Aaron Wainwright play his last game at Rodney Parade as a Dragon. Really sell that. That's why you'd be doing. They are doing a presentation as well after the game. So the Dragons have said they're pleased to confirm supporters will be invited onto the field.
Oh, nice.
As we make a number of presentations. So I'm guessing we're probably going to get a leavers list next week.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
So it'll be very interesting. Yes, you're thinking the same lines as me now. You're like, who's going? Because, you probably got some players in mind who you think probably should be moved on. And it'll be interesting to see if those players that you think should be moved on are actually moved on. So,
who do you move on then?
I don't want to name names because I try to avoid that.
We don't tend to do that if we can avoid it.
I think let's do it a different way. Who do I think we're moved on? Not necessarily who I want moved on, right?
Yeah.
I think we could see Kai Evans being
I think
let go.
Kai Evans will go.
Who else do we think? Oh, well, we know Ewan Ross is going as well because he's retired from Pro Rugby. The Dragons haven't announced that yet. We know Wayno's definitely going.
I think Rodri could go as well.
I don't know his contract length though.
Yeah, I think if his contract's up, if he's got another year on it, then. But
I think he has got another year on it.
If that's
now,
the
I
case,
know.
then
Sorry, I can say I know Niall Armstrong was a 1-year deal, so he might be let go. I don't know.
I
do wonder.
Good.
He's been very good.
Yeah, good player. What's Rodri Jones got left on his contract?
That's a good shout. I didn't think of Rodri Jones. Yeah, he could.
Yeah. James Benjamin. Mackenzie Martin, we know is going. Mackenzie Martin's off to France.
I've heard stuff about Mackenzie Martin. I don't know if it's true because everyone's saying like, what's going on? He has suffered with injuries, but there's been murmurings and stuff around work rate and stuff. Now, don't quote me on that. That's just what the murmurings are.
He's signed for a Pro D2 team, hasn't he?
Bezier, I think he signed for.
Bezier, yeah. But obviously, technically, Funaki is Funaki still on the payroll at the minute?
No, he's gone.
No, he was released. Yeah, he was released.
Okay. I'm just trying to work out. Luke Yendel's probably.
Oh, yeah, Luke Yendel. That's another good one. Yeah,
Luke Yendel.
Who's on loan to Quins at the moment?
I reckon Luke Yendel will end up in the English Championship.
Barney Langton.
Possibly. George Roberts. Hooker, who's currently on loan to Scarlets.
I think Barney Langton tries to go another year.
Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know for certain. So we'll have to
I think it'll be more natural wastage than people moving necessarily being moved on. But what I will say on that front is we don't want too many being moved on in theory because you do need the squad depth. This is what we've just been talking about, really. Rather than moving loads of people on, we need to add to what we've got almost. Yeah.
But I just want quality. I want quality.
It's got to be quality, yeah.
Yeah,
it's got to be quality.
Yeah, absolutely. We shall see. So, I hope it's a big crowd. Say farewell to Wayno and to the players, and get a result against, like you said, Dan, an Edinburgh team that's there for the taking. They're not the sum of their parts. They're recruited, but they're recruiting very heavily for next season, aren't they? They're going to South Africa recruiting a load of like Scottish heritage players and all the rest of it. So they're going to be stronger. I was absolutely gobsmacked when the SRU renewed Sean Everett's deal as head coach. I was gobsmacked because I don't think he's the right coach for Edinburgh. I don't think he's a good coach, actually. So I was gobsmacked when they extended his deal. And I know that a few Edinburgh fans have been kicking off about that. But this is a very winnable game. This is a very
it is a winnable game because I think they've underachieved this year. You may have
massively.
Whilst we've been talking about, the lads have got Philo's managed to get a buy-in from the lads and so on and so forth. Maybe that's a little bit the opposite up in Edinburgh at the moment where they're not playing for the coach as much. But what we can't have, though, is that typical Dragon start where we give teams like a 5 or 10 point advantage, concede an early score. Let's get on top of them and put their fire out early.
I think we're less like that now, though. I think we are just better at taking chances early on. Or if, like Connacht, we let Connacht back in the game and then just absolutely strangled them. We are getting better at that. I'm confident. I'm being my inner Gareth is coming up now, but I am confident. I am confident we're going to win.
Yeah, I'm confident as well, and sometimes as well. I think that the boys, we are Gwent. This is a region and a county that's built on the back of hard working, in this case, men that have. The rugby has been built on the back of hard men. There's a lot of hard men that play in Gwent. Go out there and knock some people around.
Yeah.
When someone runs down your channel, absolutely obliterate them from minute one, get on top of them early, be horrible Gwent bastards for 80 minutes, and we'll win the fixture.
I was having this conversation with a supporter of the club. My team was playing yesterday, and he said, "Oh, you're from Wales? Where are you from?" And he was saying, Wales produce so many great players, and they're all 10s. I said, "I'm from the Gwent Valleys, where we don't produce 10s. Tight heads and second rows we churn out."
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Philo has talked a lot about this as well. He spoke a lot about, the Gwent way and the mentality. It feels like he's bought into it a lot more now and he understands it. And I think that's great.
But I think that is the Gwent way, because whether you're
Yeah.
from Newport or whether you're from the top end of the valley, which would be Rumney for us now, I suppose, Bargard, Rumney,
Mm.
it's all working class. Newport's
Yeah.
a working class city.
It's a docks town, isn't it?
It's a docks town. It's working class. It is built on hard people, tough people that are genuine working class, and there's a lot to be said for that when it comes to your culture and the buy-in that you get from your staff and the players and the supporters. Because let's not beat around the bush. Like, Gwent's not a particularly affluent area, and if you were willing to go and spend your money week in, week out to go and support the Dragons, the club must mean a lot to you, because you've done a lot to earn that money.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I completely get it. Yeah.
And that's why I think you go much more of an emotional pull to the club, because I want to go and support the club. I'm willing to pay the money for me and my boy to go down whenever we can, to go and get down there, because we are men of Gwent, and it means that much to me to see rugby and Gwent thrive, even though, times are tight for everybody at the minute. Your council tax going up, your gas and electric going up. It's never been more expensive to stick a couple of litres of diesel in your car, but I still want to go and support rugby and Gwent.
Yeah, absolutely. Winning does help as well, mind.
Oh,
I think that does that does make you buy into the club a lot more. When Dragons have been losing week in, week out, like I said, even I've lost interest. I know Gareth has. It's hard to believe to say about Gareth, isn't it? But I know on a few occasions we've had private chats. He's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't know if I can renew my season ticket." But he always does.
Yeah.
He always renews the season
but
ticket.
You're still there. You're still doing it.
I know.
And I hope you get the rewards. And look, that next season, I think we can take that next step again, especially with we need to improve the coaching group though, as well as the playing group.
So we've talked about this on the pod. So Gareth would like a scrum coach to come in, and I'm not against that. And I made the point before, in Dean Ryan's first season, he brought in Olivia Assam, former Gloucester hooker. Now, he did a really good job in that first season of making the Dragons scrum much stronger, more solid. And Leon Brown had, I think, his best ever season that year in Dean Ryan's first year at the club. I think his scrummaging came on leaps and bounds. So that's why we're like, are we going to get anyone to replace Rhys Patchell? That's going to be interesting. So do you bring in, a skills kicking coach then as well?
Yeah, I would say so. Because if you look at Matt O'Brien's attack, I think it's been better this season having that skills kicking coach in there, because it's not spreading his coaching too thin. So, and again, I stand to be corrected here, but it looks to me now that since Patch has come in and been able to take on, those basic skills and doing the catch pass stuff and the detail around what's required, it frees up Matthew O'Brien to go and do the macro element on the attack. Well, this is how we're going to play, where we're going to play.
Yeah.
This is what our kicking strategy may look like. Tom Hancock's probably come in and helped out with that as well, because I know he's been in doing a little bit, and that's where you're probably right. If you come in and you bring a out and out scrum coach in, you probably take some of the workload off Sam Hobbs.
Because they're different jobs, aren't they?
Different jobs.
Coaching that particular bit of set piece isn't like other forwards coaching, because it's the most technical thing that happens on the rugby field. And I think people forget. I think people just look at a load of large blokes and think, well, it's just large blokes shoving. And even today, like when I refereeing under 14s, the amount of technical learning those kids had to do just to be able to scrummage.
Yeah, exactly that. And maybe, Sam's the man to do the scrum stuff. So then, do you bring in a quote unquote assistant forwards coach who can come in and do the contact work, the ruck work, the help in and around the line out, that sort of thing, just to help out with that. Again, I suppose it's just easing the workload burden on some of the coaches in there, because I can tell you firsthand now, rugby's got to a point where it's that complex and there's that many moving parts. It's effectively quickly becoming like the NFL, where you get spread real thin, and you become a jack of all trades and a master of nothing if you're trying to coach all departments of
absolutely.
all aspects of the game.
Dave Flanagan, case in point. He was head coach, he was attack coach, he was defence coach at one point, wasn't he? Then he was doing the recruitment. You can't do that.
You can't do all of that. It's impossible to
the NFL model, if you look at the NFL model, they have coaches for every positional part of a field. You have an offensive line, defensive line coach. You have
quarterback coach, kicking
quarterback coach,
offense coach, all of these things.
Wide receiver coaches, running back coaches.
Yeah, exactly that. And
I do want to see more coaches come in, and people might say, well, money and stuff, but I don't think Dragons can stand still in the recruitment, not just to place, but coaches as well. They can be part-time. Rhys Patchell, he's done a good job with the Dragons. He was only up at Drummond 1 day a week. Same with Dan Lydiard. He's not full-time.
But if that's all you need them for, if we know that, if we know that's the right amount of time, and he gets the right amount of face time with the players, then that's what we want, isn't it? Because I remember, I think I listened to you guys before I took my boy down to the Leinster game, and then I looked at the Leinster coaching staff compared to the level of staff they have compared to the Dragons, and it's absolutely phenomenal. I try to bring it up in front of me now. The coaching is insane.
It's mad, some of the people you see like this in coaching. So Tunbridge Wells, which is about 20 miles north of me, and they're in Regional 1, which is just below National. They have Benjamin Kaiser as one of their coaches.
There you go.
And I don't think he turns up, every week in, week out, but he is one of their forwards coaches.
He doesn't need to turn out week in, week out. You just need, like I said, we just need someone like Patchell was 1 day a week, just up at Strumminock, working with the players.
Yeah. A mate of mine's just signed, and I said, "Oh, is he still there?" He said, "Yeah, he was there when I signed."
Well, let's get him down there. Let's get him down to Dragons, get him up at Strumminock.
So Leinster, for example, Leo Cullen, head coach, Emmett Farrell, kicking coach, Robin McBride, assistant forwards coach, or assistant coach forwards, Tyler Bladendahl, assistant coach attack, Jack Nienaber, senior coach, Sean O'Brien. That's the first 5 names off the rank, is the contact coach.
Yeah, but we haven't got Leinster's budget, though, if we. That's the only thing. I know what you're saying, though. Yeah.
I'm saying it's the amount of staff that they've got. You don't need to go out and pay all those prices, but they're good coaches. I can tell you firsthand, there's some real good coaches in the region that will be able to go and plug those gaps for you.
In an ideal world, I'd like a scrum coach and I'd like a skills kicking coach, as you mentioned, Dan. But it's just whether the Dragons... personally, I think they need to invest. They can't stand still, because as we said earlier, other teams will improve on and off the field. We need to keep doing the same. Absolutely. So you stand still in the URC and you just get left behind, as we've done.
I don't know if you saw Loaf's tweet this evening, Jamie. He's saying it's not the hope that kills you, it's the hope that makes the game beautiful, when we were talking about why people go to the games.
Right.
And who knew he was such a philosopher?
I know, fair play to him. Right, let's end with predictions then. Dragons Edinburgh Saturday night. I really fancy us. I always get nervous predicting a Dragons win, but I just feel like we're playing really good rugby at the moment. I know we've had a disappointing loss, but there's so many positives we can take from that Montpellier game and from the European campaign as a whole. And this is our last ever home game. Let's give Wayno a bloody good send-off. Let's get a big crowd down there. Let's make it a really good night. I'm going Dragons by 7.
Oh,
Gavin?
Nice. I have Dragons by 8.
Ooh.
Okay.
You're all confident. Dan?
Dragons by 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No,
you filled the Gareth tree.
Yeah, no, I do fancy. I think they're there for the taking. I was going to go by 7, but Jamie got in there first, so yeah, why not by 10? What I'd really like is for you to sit on your next week and go, boys, that was a routine victory.
Yeah. If Gareth had been here, he'd have said Dragons by 45.
Yeah, that was a routine win.
Yeah.
Imagine having that attitude as a Dragons fan,
mindset.
I know.
We need to get into that mindset where it's a game like Edinburgh, you go, well, that's 5 points, we'll chalk that off. What are we doing next?
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Like when we beat Connaught, I was like, oh, it's routine. It's a routine win. 40-odd, emptied the bench, all right, they come back a little bit.
I wasn't expecting that, mind. I mean, they had Bundy Aki, they had bloody good team.
Oh, yeah, they did, yeah.
Well, we were quite giddy by the end of that game, weren't we?
We were steaming afterwards, I think, at the pub. We couldn't believe what we'd seen. Who is this Dragons team? What have you done with them?
Brilliant, and absolutely brilliant. But, look, there's no reason why we can't get to that point. No reason whatsoever.
It's been hopeful, though, Dan, isn't it, this season? You know, especially compared to last season. I feel like for the first time, there's genuine hope for this team now going forward.
Look, when they asked me on the WRRAP for predictions on a Monday, I go, look, it'll largely depend on what the Tombola says. However, there are times where we've put out squads this season. I've gone, we're going to win that game. We will win that fixture. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like I said earlier on, I think we've set our baseline now really nicely. This has been a much improved season. No one can argue the fact that we're not improved and competitive in 90% of the fixtures that we've been in. You even think that Munster game away from home.
Should have won it.
Yeah. We're sat here going, we should have beat Munster away.
But there's been too many games like that, Cardiff away, should have beaten them. We should beat Cardiff every year, but we never do. Should have beaten Ospreys. If we didn't have the prop issue, we would have beaten them at the Brewery Field. Yeah. Munster, that was a winnable game. There's so many games, but that's what we got to do going forward. Stop saying should have won it and actually win it. And I think we're nearly there.
That's it. If we can start that snowball rolling down the hill, by the time we sit here towards the tail end of the season this time next season, if we've turned those draws and close losses into wins, then that's improvement again. You look how much further we'd be on about playoffs if we'd won those fixtures.
Oh, my days. I mean, I don't know what I'd do if Dragons were in the playoffs. It'd be a really unusual feeling, that would.
You think now, those 3 draws as wins, that would give us, 12 points, take us further up the table. The Munster game away would give us, and say the Munster game and the Ospreys, we pick up 4 points and not 5.
Sharks away.
That's Sharks at home,
That's 20
points.
Oh,
yeah, it wasn't Sharks away, was it? It was Stormers away. At home. Yeah, Stormers away.
We potentially...
Stormers away, we could have won that as well.
Yeah.
There's potentially another 20 points on the table, which is massive.
Just imagine if Rodri had actually passed the ball to Tinas for a drop goal against the Sharks, we win that game. Just imagine if Tinas to be actually kicked that conversion to beat the Ospreys. It's those little key moments, though, isn't it?
But but that's how close we've been. That's the difference in pro sport, isn't it? Between being where we are and having an extra 20 points on the table. If we had 20 points extra on the log now, we'd be on 45 points, which mean we'd be currently sat in 9th. With 2 games left. I know it's all like shoulda, woulda, coulda. We haven't done it, but that's the difference, really, for me, between sitting in 9th and sitting in 14th.
What's that film with Gwyneth Paltrow in it? Oh God, Sliding
Doors. Yeah, good film. Good film. Yeah, very good film.
We'll disagree on that, but it's those sliding door
moments.
But do you know what, boys? At least it hasn't been Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But this feels quite positive. This feels like a very positive pod. We're heading in the right direction. I think that's a good way for us to end the pod. I think that'll do us for this week. It's been a long one, but I really enjoyed it. Gavin, thank you as always. We'll speak again soon with Gareth returning. Dan, thank you so much for stepping in for Gareth. It's really been appreciated. It's been very enjoyable. It's been really informative. Best of luck with Abertillery for your head coaching job next season. Against, unless you're playing NSD, then I don't wish you any luck at all. And thank you to our listeners for taking the time to listen to us. We'll speak to you again next week when our Gareth returns. Up the Dragons!